You are now joining the meeting.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
What's up,
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah, this is Dan Hartlib. Sorry I'm late.
All right, guys. This is Brett at Illinois. Just a couple things as we get started here with all these. Obviously, one is please to mute your phones if you're not speaking so that we can all hear. And then the other thing, when you're ready to ask a question, please state your name and your outlet. So we'll kick things off with Dan. Dan, if you could just give us kind of an opening statement, what you've been going through here, and then we'll kick it off with some questions. So, Dan, take it away.
Sure. Okay. First of all, everybody, sorry I'm late. I'm actually checking my son, or we just moved him out of an apartment, so I'm loaded up, headed back to Champaign. Anyway, interesting time, to say the least. Uncharted territory for all of us. Mixed emotions on everything. If you look at all the work that goes into a season by the players, the staff, all the support people, it's a kind of a sad feeling. But if you take a step back and look what's right, at least what experts are saying is right for the country and right for our community and right for our families and the players, I think it was absolutely 100% the correct decision. So, again, mixed feelings, but, Josh and the commissioner of the Big Ten have, and as well as the other ADs, have put a lot of time in on this. They've made very good, educated decisions, and I'm very comfortable with how it's been handled and what we're doing to keep everybody safe.
Hey, Dan, this is Jeremy Warner. I'm just wondering, can you take me to the moment you got a call that this was all done and what your reaction was and how you kind of go about trying to figure out how to tell your players something you've never had to do before as a coach?
Sure. Well, to be very honest with you, I left town earlier in the morning on Thursday because our son Zach plays at Logan Community College, which is right down by Carbondale. And so I was watching his game, and the team was going to come down. We're going to practice at SIU and then play. Now let's go back a day. As soon as we started getting information that the Big Ten tournament was going to be conducted, at least at that point, without fans in the stands, I thought it was just a matter of time before there were some things that were going to change with our season. I really thought that we had a great or a strong possibility that we would be canceled. I didn't know what the time frame would be, but I really thought we'd be canceled because I knew that Josh and the people that really had the information on the concerns and the virus, we're not going to let our athletes be in a bad situation. So I was down there. I got the calls. I communicated things that I knew a little bit in advance of things going public. I communicated those with our coaching staff, and we had made a change in our schedule because it was going to rain later in Southern Illinois, so we were going to practice at home first and then head down. That's a decision we made around noon. So I called our coaches, and immediately they kind of changed what was going on in practice, had a much different practice, let everybody in BP hit, had the pitchers hit, just tried to have some fun with them, knowing that there was going to be a blow to them, in just a matter of minutes. So our guys left practice, and then things were pushed out publicly. I communicated with them via text message, and also communicated with a couple of the other guys on the team personally. And then we set a meeting. I told them we would either have a meeting that evening when I got back or the following day. We ended up having a meeting Friday afternoon. I pushed it back that long just so we had more information. and then we had what I consider was a good meeting under the circumstances.
Coach, this is Dave Kerner, WBBM Radio. Can you tell me where it stands at this point on what could be another year of eligibility for your seniors?
Yes. I'll give you, what we have gotten from the NCAA at least this point. The initial thought process is that seniors, as well as basically every spring sport athlete will be granted another year of eligibility. Now, they've said that initially. There are a number of things that they're going to have to work through. I mean, that has great implications from a financial standpoint for each and every school. That has roster size, not concerns, because I'm sure they'll expand, but there's going to be things that need to be addressed from a roster size standpoint. There'll be things that need to be considered from a scholarship standpoint. And then as you look at how it would affect baseball, if everybody's granted another year of eligibility and then you have an incoming freshman class, this is going to be a 5-year period to get things back in order from a scholarship standpoint and a roster standpoint. So a lot of things the NCAA is going to have to sort out. Some things that people. I'll just give you a couple of examples of things that I'm sure they've thought about because it's been thrown at them. But when you make the decision, you probably haven't thought through. The junior colleges, NJCAA, canceled all spring sports yesterday, and so now all those athletes will be granted another year of eligibility. So the junior college players that we have coming in, I would assume they'll have 3 years instead of 2 years of eligibility. Some of the junior colleges that may not have the capabilities to do a lot of online classwork, do they go to pass-fail grades, and then how does that affect GPAs as far as it pertaining to student-athletes being able to get certain scholarship or financial aid that doesn't count against the team because they need to be above a 3.0. So if you look at the number of issues that they're going to have to sit down and work through, in my mind, it's going to be several weeks, a month, whatever the time frame is. It's not going to be something that they can sit down and give us absolute parameters on in the short term.
Hey Dan, Eric Fisher from Orange and Blue News. Have any of your seniors communicated to you or showed interest in this extra year of eligibility?
So, to be fair with them, when we had our meeting, I made a general statement to those guys about that looked like they were going to be granted another year of eligibility, and that would love to talk to the guys about that. We had one senior stopped in right away, and we had a conversation about different avenues or things that could happen. We're still in a wait and see mode. Quite honestly, I did not and have not to this point had those conversations with our seniors because I don't think it's fair to have them yet. I mean, we're less than a week out from those guys having their world turned around on them. And so I want to give them some time to digest things a little bit, let things settle down, and then be able to have some conversations with them where the emotions won't be as high.
Hey, Dan. Gavin Good here with the Illini Inquirer. Just generally in these times, what has it been like trying to lead a team and a group of guys through something like this, and how have they reacted?
Well, I think we have to start at the top. If you look at the leadership we have in our conference with the commissioner, and then you look at the leadership from Josh, and then our administrators, Jason Leonard is the person that oversees baseball. They've given us great leadership. We've had great communication, and they have done an unbelievable job working with and talking to the staff and then actually having conference calls for our players as well as parents. So that has made things a little easier than I think may have happened in some other, situations. I also think, when I went to the meeting to discuss, collecting equipment and guys having to move off campus and going home for an extended period of time, the opportunity for our staff to walk in and tell the guys that the NCAA, was considering and would probably grant everyone another year of eligibility, that kind of took the edge off of the meeting a little bit. And I say that because it gave guys hope and a little bit of vision on, okay, this is how we can approach things. So the way that I approached it with our team, just told them, we need to make a positive out of a very, very tough situation. And, everyone was just granted a red shirt year. And if you look in most situations, when someone redshirts for a year and really works at it and matures physically and gets stronger and matures a little bit more mentally, they are much better players after that redshirt year. And so that's the way I've approached it with our guys. Is we've all been granted a redshirt year. We need to take advantage of it from a number of directions. And at this point, that's all we can do. And I thought guys, I know guys were extremely disappointed, but I think they had a great vision on, hey, something was taken away from us, but we're not going to sit on it. We're going to find a way to move forward and be better, both as human beings and as athletes moving forward.
Coach Dave Turner again.
It's Scott Beatty from. Dan, have you had a chance to maybe talk to some scouts and find out what ramifications might be for guys that have some pro prospects, maybe how that could affect the draft process, or maybe is that something that you've thought about yet at all?
Oh, I've had plenty of time to think, believe me. So the answer is yes. I have had a time to talk to a number of, I wouldn't say a number. There's a select group of scouts and people in front offices that we have very good relationships that I really respect their opinions and know that they will give me straight answers based on what they think will happen in their industry, and also what they feel like would be best for players. So the thing, I'll tell you what they are telling me, at least some information I've gotten, then I'm going to give you my opinion, and please don't cross those over because they're different. The information that I've gotten is very simply, at this point, nobody knows what's going to happen with the draft. I've heard from one person they are fairly certain there will be a draft, and I heard from another person that they could see it go to a point where there is not a draft. The thing that we do know right now is that Major League Baseball has shut down scouts. They're not supposed to be contacting potential prospects. They're not allowed to administer tests. There's nothing that they can do at this point, at least within the rules and what's happened with the shutdown of Major League Baseball. Okay, so lots of unknowns. Now, my opinion on some things that could happen. I truly think there will be a draft. Whether it happens in June or if it's pushed back, I think that's yet to be seen. One thing that I could see happening, and this may be far-fetched, but thinking out loud, and the fact that opportunities for evaluations are going to be slim to none for a while, and maybe into the summer. I could see them basically shortening the draft, have it compacted. I don't know how many rounds that is. I don't know if it's 5, 7, 10, 20. I don't know, but I think they could cut it down, go after the high prospects that they feel really good and sure about, and then move forward with everybody else they have in their organization. I think that would be something that would be fairly realistic. The owners and the organizations are not going to want to waste money. They're not going to have as much information. Players are not going to have as big a resume, and they're not going to know where they're at this point in their playing careers because everything's been shut down. So it's wide open. I think we have a few guys that would have draft possibilities, but this year I don't see guys that are high drafts, and so I think there are going to be some great options for some guys, whether it's the opportunity to go in the draft or even some guys to come back and finish their degrees, and a couple guys maybe the opportunity for them to come back and get their masters. So again, the way I've approached it with our guys is, we have to look at it from a positive standpoint, and here's all the things that could happen. A lot of unknowns, but this could be a golden opportunity for you to get a master's degree, get it done, put it behind you, and not have to worry about your education moving forward.
Dan, it's Scott with WDWS, Scott Beatty, and the season such as it was in short, your thoughts on it and what might have been, where it was headed.
Well, I thought we played very, very well at times, and then there were times that it looked like we hadn't practiced. I was proud of the way we competed against UCLA. I'm sorry, not UCLA. That was a game I didn't think we competed well, but against Texas A&M and Oklahoma State. We played well against West Virginia and Coastal Carolina. Those teams are very, very good teams year in and year out. I thought they were good teams this year. I thought we played extremely well against them, and I thought we showed our potential. A number of other games, and not all the other ones that I didn't mention, but the number of other games, even during wins, I thought that we showed our youth. And I really thought that we would have some great days and some very mediocre days. And I thought we would grow and get better and better as the season progressed. I was excited about this group. As I've said all year, this was a fun group to be around. I thought they cared about each other. Our leadership was very, very, very good. And when you have very good internal leadership in that locker room, it really helps for things to go the right direction. And it also helps you as a coach to be able to push a team because you're going to have the proper backing and some people helping the young guys with the thought process on what was going on and why things were happening. So, I really thought we did a good job of making great progress between week 1 and week 4, and that's something that we talk about all the time. Lot of learning went on that first month of the season. I mean, we learned a lot, and guys, had to understand what was on the line each and every day as far as working to gain RPI points or not gain them, however you want to look at them, but put yourself in better position. We had a lot of guys that had to learn to understand that, just because I had a good game may not have been a great day for the team, and the team's most important. And I thought our leaders did a great job of teaching those types of things. So, again, we made a lot of progress. I thought we had a chance to be a very, very solid team and be in the upper probably third of the Big Ten. And I was excited about some of those upcoming games.
And then this has probably been a long. Sorry, one more follow-up. This has probably been a long time since you haven't been around a game at this time of the year. How's this been for you?
Well, it's been interesting. I got a text on Saturday from somebody, and I told him this is the first time in 37 years that I've not made a baseball-related decision on the weekend in March. So different. I walked down after working out and showering on Friday, and my wife was sitting at the table with one of her friends having coffee, and I just smiled at her and said, "Okay, what are we doing this weekend?" And she looked at me like, "Oh crap, I've got to put up with you for 3 or 4 more months that I usually don't have to." So that was an interesting conversation. I've tried to stay plugged into what's going on in the department, the decisions that Josh and the group have made, trying to do as much research as I can to help our players understand, what's going on, so that when I communicate with them over the next couple of days, because I've kind of left them alone a little bit, but I need to communicate with them on where I see things going and what happens in certain situations. What if we're confined, for 2, 3, 4 more weeks? How do we need to handle that to continue to progress? One of my major things that I need to spend some time with is helping guys to understand the importance of them jumping right back on the academics on Monday morning. So I've been busy with things that I didn't think I would be busy with, and I've been busy trying to do things that are going to be productive for the entire group. I think things hit me a little bit harder probably this morning when I got up to drive to Southern Illinois to pick up our son, because that was one thing I enjoyed every day as far as a release. Watching his games and watching his progress and helping him with his struggles, it kind of got me away from the work world a little bit, which was enjoyable. So, getting up this morning and going down so Zach can move on to the next chapter of his life, that was kind of eye-opening to me. And I'm sure it's the way a number of parents felt coming to get their sons when they picked them up, this past Friday.
Coach Mark Pearson, WAND Sports. Just in your 30 years of coaching, obviously nothing is exactly like this, unprecedented times, but is there any a time that was maybe similar in your 30 years of coaching to this?
I would say the only time that I've had that absolute helpless feeling is 9/11, but it didn't affect our season. But as far as just complete change overnight, I don't think anybody has experienced that. That's probably in our given generation. Obviously, we have things that change our lives with tragedy and death within our circles and our groups, and losing people that we care about. But some of the things that affect our daily life outside of family, we haven't had these things, and so it's uncharted territory for us. Just talking to some people, they said the last time they thought there was this type of shutdown maybe been World War II. I don't know, what different epidemics, have shut the country down or at least slowed it down in the past. I don't know if that's polio or what it might be, but no, I've never experienced anything to this magnitude. I do believe, and what I told our players is, this is something that I think we watch the news and always say, this doesn't happen in the United States, it happens everywhere else. And so I think it's going to be humbling for our country. I think it's going to make a lot of people appreciate things that we take for granted. And hopefully, when this is all said and done, we're a stronger country, and the leadership continues to make great decisions to help us move forward and get back to our normal, what we consider normal routines.
Dan, Brandon Comia was in the midst of, the start to what might have been a really special season for him, hitting .426 and kind of doing the things he's done. How has this disruptive to guys like that, guys who are really standing out and making a name for themselves?
Brandon's a great player, and great players play great. Once he gets a chance to get back on the field, he'll get rolling again. He's a special person, special player. I think he can be one of the top shortstops in the country a year from now. I've enjoyed coaching him and watching, his progress. And, I'm sure he's disappointed, as we all are. But Brandon cares about the team. And Brandon, if you watch his demeanor and, like the game-winning hits and the big hits he got, it wasn't about the hit. It was about the fact he just drove in runs and we had opportunities to win. And so he's learned not to focus on himself and focus on the team. And so I know when we get back in a situation where he's, has the Illinois uniform back on, he'll pick right up where he left off.
Dan, do you think there will be, kind of you're steadily going to be talking to some of these seniors? And if so, are you going to, for your program, are you going to try to convince them to come back? Or is it more of, you just kind of feeling out what they might think is right for them?
Well, I think it's a little bit of a two-way. It's going to be a conversation. I'm not going to sit there and push them in one direction. I will give them an opinion based on the research that I do, the information that I have. I've already, at least laid out there. Guys know the way I feel about academics. And the opportunity for some of these guys to get a master's degree, a one-year degree or even two-year degree, and come back and play during that time, and then still have the opportunity to go on and play professionally, I think that's a golden opportunity. But each person's going to have to weigh, what they truly want to do and what drives them. I don't think it'll slow down any of the guys that have draft possibilities. I think what it does, it expedites the process in the minor leagues, because when you're older, they'll try to push you quicker to see what you can handle. And so I don't want to say they won't waste your time in those situations, but it won't be as long a process. So I'll just lay everything out, and guys have to make decisions. Last thing I want is someone to come back and regret their decision, nor do I want them to not come back and regret that decision. So, there'll be some good conversations. All the seniors that we're dealing with are very mature. They have very good heads on their shoulders. They've done a good job to put themselves in position to be able to come back and go to graduate school. Those conversations at the right time will be, I think, very, very good and positive conversations. Would I love to have some guys back? Absolutely, I would. But it's got to be under the right circumstances, because if people are back and they're not 100% in, then it's not a good situation for them or anyone around them.
How do you expect guys to kind of continue to try and develop and train on their own? I know that's not really, something necessarily people could even do just because of where they might be. But, what do you kind of do as an athlete now in this position?
Hey, Dan, before you answer this one, we'll have Dan answer this question and do one more after that before we move on to Garrett and Ty.
Okay, so that's a very good question, and it's much like some of the other questions. There's some unknowns right now. You look in Champaign, and a number of the gyms or the Y or whatever closed down, and so just from a strength and conditioning standpoint, need to be programs put together that deal with sheer body weight or things that you can find in your home. Conditioning, you can go out and run and do some things. Our facility is going to be open for guys to continue to throw and hit. A lot of unknowns just as far as facilities. The guys on the team have been through a complete fall and a complete winter. and they know exactly what they need to do and where they are in the process. We will communicate with our guys on a regular basis. There's there's a little bit of a reporting system that we are putting in place, so we get daily feedback from our guys. That right now the NCAA has said, I think it's April 6th is the up until April 6th, you can't have any required workouts, and that's fine. I get that, and but I do know a number of our guys, probably all of them, will continue to work out and try to do what they can to get better. I think that the hope long term is that some things settle down over the next 2 and 3 months, and maybe they'll get a chance to go out and play for maybe 6 weeks in the summer leagues. We're hopeful that happens. But if that does happen, guys will need to be in shape for that. If it doesn't happen, then we'll look to see, what's going to happen with the start of school and our guys back so we can start training again. So there's just so many unknowns, but they will have programs, things that are sent to them that are carefully thought out, that if they will follow those, they'll be in good shape as we move forward.
If I can take the last question, anyone can interrupt me. But what do you kind of do with like guys who are commits that are in high school now, and you can't even like recruit right now? I just don't. If I were you, I have no idea how I'd handle something like that.
Well, we are fortunate that there's a number of things there. First of all, the way we recruit. I'm one of the few people in the country that will not, go out and recruit 40 guys per class and then start running guys off and pulling scholarships and things. So we were basically done with our incoming class. I'm excited about that class. I think they'll fit in well. This class coming in, along with the guys we have coming back, we'll have much more depth next year than we had in some areas this year, and that's good because it's going to create competition, and it's also going to give guys an opportunity to, not be rushed in the process. Sometimes when you feel like you have to play someone because it's your best option, but maybe it's not the best thing for them with their long-term development. So I am excited about those guys coming in. I honestly don't think that those guys will be playing their seasons this year, and so they're going to be in the same boat we are. A lot of uncharted territory. I think one of my biggest concerns is if they don't play their seasons and they jump into summer baseball, if that's something that happens, that they are in good shape so we don't have any major injuries.
All right, thank you, Dan. That'll be a wrap on him. We'll move to Garrett. Garrett, are you in here?
Guys, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Hey, Brett.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, so Garrett Acton, our senior closer, is in here. So, Garrett, if you can just kind of start off with a statement of how things have been for you over the last few days with everything going on, and then same deal, we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, obviously things have been a bit chaotic. As Coach had kind of talked about, we found out on Thursday as we were in practice. We were getting ready to go down to Carbondale. We're told kind of at the beginning of the practice we're not going to go down to Carbondale anymore. And going into practice, we were seeing other conferences start to shut down the rest of their season. So, guys are starting to get a sense that this could potentially happen to Big Ten. It was seeming like it was just a matter of time. So I think we were all kind of prepared for that. Obviously, we were hoping for something different. This wasn't the outcome anybody had expected for our season or had hoped for going into it. So it's, obviously been chaotic. We got home a couple days ago and, just starting to get back into the training process, making sure I'm staying in shape. And I know just kind of talking to a bunch of our other players that they're all doing the same things. Coach had talked about this is almost another off season for us. It's a rare opportunity to get another full training cycle in, be able to work on some things that, we kind of lost time with being able to work on leading up to the season, because at the end of the day, once you get in season, it's time to compete. You're no longer trying to consistently work on things and, kind of change your game. And we have a rare opportunity to be able to do that, especially for our younger guys who are really starting to make a lot of strides in the last couple of weeks. But obviously it's been a bit disheartening, and it's an unfortunate situation, but I think the Big Ten, the NCAA, and our athletic department has all, made the right decision. Obviously, it's a tough decision, having to cancel spring sports. But I think the leadership we've seen under Josh Whitman and the Big Ten has been impeccable. And they've really proven their character and how much they care about their athletes, and kind of how they've taken charge in this whole process. So.
Hey, Garrett, it's Jeremy Warner from 24/7 Sports, and I know the senior season meant a lot for you, not only to get to your degree and all of that, but now with the potential extra year of eligibility and the draft uncertain, just what do you think of all of those possibilities as you look towards your own personal future?
Yeah, I think there's a number of great options on the table. If, as everything kind of gets figured out with the league and the draft, the things might become a little bit more clear on that side. But, I'm looking at all options right now. Really, either way, if I end up at the end of the year going back to school and getting a master's degree, that's a great opportunity for me. If I get the opportunity to play professional baseball, if that's the right situation, that's a great opportunity. So kind of out of all this darkness and this dark situation, there's great opportunities either way for me. Just need to kind of approach those as they come.
Hey, Garrett, it's Scott Beatty, WDWS. If you have indeed pitched your last game as an Illini, how does it feel looking back on that last game and capturing a record as you get a save, a program record?
Yeah, it's a bit crazy to all think about. If it is my last game, which, at this point, I don't know whether or not it will be. Still have a lot of conversations to have with the coaching staff and my family about all that stuff going forward. But if that was my last game, obviously it's a pretty cool way to go out. But at the end of the day, if that really was my last game, I'm going to, it's something to be proud of. And more importantly, I'm just proud to be a part of this program. Whether or not I come back at the end of this season, I take immense pride in being a student athlete at Illinois. I'm incredibly proud of my teammates and all the work that they put into this season. And I think we're really starting to make a lot of strides and really proving, what we could kind of do on a national stage as a team, especially a young team. And it makes me excited going forward, seeing what this program can do.
Hey, Garrett, this is Scott Ritchie from the News Gazette. I mean, you probably had an opportunity last spring to maybe see what your pro prospects were. How much of maybe just being at Illinois was and being with this team kind of drove you to come back for one more year now, but maybe even another?
Yeah, kind of when I was going through the whole draft process, that was weighing on me the entire time. We obviously had lost a lot of guys. A lot of seniors that were great players coming into this past season. And it was something that I really wanted to be a part of, kind of the culture change and the program change that we saw this year. I knew I would have to step into a bigger leadership role, and that was a responsibility that I really wanted to take. We only had 3 true seniors in this past class. We had a redshirt senior and Nick Mankin, and then Andrew Dyke, who's a redshirt junior. And I knew that we'd need leaders, and I wanted to be a part of kind of the change that was going to happen in this program and to help lead these young guys. And, hopefully I've done a good job of that. I've done the best I can. But being able to kind of see their development, see where the program was going, was something that was really important to me. And the culture and camaraderie around this team was, a big driving factor in me deciding to come back this past year.
Garrett, moving.
Sorry. In your college career, you've had some maybe smaller uncertainties. Going from SLU to Parkland, then to Illinois. Nothing compares to maybe this, but how do you feel like maybe you've just maybe matured and grown to maybe be able to handle a situation like this better?
Yeah. I've already kind of dealt with some uncertainty and adversity in my career, like you'd said. So it kind of puts everything in perspective. Coach had just talked about how it kind of grounds us, as players, and we go into the every day thinking, we're student athletes, we're invincible. This stuff won't happen to us. It won't affect our seasons. And at the end of the day, it's one thing to, deal with stuff in baseball, but there's also problems, plenty of issues that people deal with in life. And at the end of the day, baseball is a game, and we love it. We love it to death, and it's something that we put so much time and effort into. But I think kind of the stuff I've been through in my own baseball career and personal life has, already kind of put this in perspective. So for me, maybe it's a little bit easier to grasp the gravity of this situation and be able to cope with it and understand what I need to do to keep moving forward as a baseball player. Understanding the work that I have to continue to put in to be prepared for whenever I end up on the field next. I think it'll be a bit tougher of a situation for some of our freshmen who had just kind of gone through their first off season on their own, still learning what exactly they need to do to prepare for the season. Hopefully they have a bit of a better understanding having been through that already. But for guys like me and Ty and Ryan Schmidt and all the upperclassmen that had already been through this type of off season, I guess, obviously in a bit of a different situation, we understand what we have to do moving forward, and how to kind of cope with, this adversity.
Garrett, this is Gavin Good from the Illini Inquirer. Just what sort of conversations have you had with your teammates, and how are you guys just collectively reacting to this and trying to, move on?
Yeah, I've had quite a few conversations with individuals. I also made sure I reached out to the entire team, and the big thing that I kind of tried to get across to them was just how proud of this team I am. Coming in day one with as many new guys as we had, I didn't know exactly what to expect. I knew there would be a big learning curve, and I saw so many improvements, not only on the playing side, but in terms of how they handle adversity on the field, how they handle adversity in their own personal lives. Being able to see that growth, not just on the field, but on a personal level, is something that I'm really proud to have been a part of and to be a part of. And, the culture shift that we'd seen coming into this year, the level of camaraderie around the team and how close everybody got, is something that I was so incredibly impressed by. And that I don't think will ever go away. This is an extremely close-knit group. All the guys are still constantly talking to each other every day, whether it be on their own or in our team group messages, all that. The guys are an extremely close-knit crew, and I'm just so proud of all the work they've put in and the improvements they've made, and all the efforts they've put into this season.
Hey Garrett, Eric Fisher from Orange and Blue News here. Just what did you think of what your team was able to accomplish just so far, what you guys were able to do this season, I guess?
Yeah, I think we were, as Coach Hartleb had said, there were some good days, there were some bad days. I think we were really starting to show the ability that we have on the field. Obviously, there were some rough patches in the season. The UCLA game obviously was not pretty. Friday night at Elon wasn't great, but there were so many bright spots. Going out as a team, starting multiple underclassmen and transfers that had never played at the Division I level, going out and beating a team like Texas A&M in a very, very hostile environment. Obviously, being in Texas, mostly Texas A&M fans there, and then going out and beating Oklahoma State, which is a similar environment. We're essentially playing in front of their home crowds, in front of 6,000-7,000 people, and we have a bunch of guys who have never played in anything like that before. And the way that we handled that as a team, being able to put all of that aside and just go out and do our jobs, was something that I was really impressed by. I honestly didn't expect our guys to handle that well, especially the new guys who had never done that before. And, I think we were really just starting to hit our stride. The pitching was starting to really take shape. Ty obviously was throwing incredibly well, being our leader of the staff, continuing to show the new guys how they need to approach their outings, and kind of the aggressive mentality in terms of how he approached every at-bat. getting ahead, showing our guys how to compete that way was something that, was becoming pretty clear in terms of how our entire pitching staff was approaching outings. Hitters were really starting to hit their stride. Tomia obviously was having a great season, and I know he was working on the side a lot with our underclassmen to try to help bring them along. It's disappointing, obviously, that we won't be able to continue to see that growth, at least in the short term, and we'll have to wait until probably the fall to see that continue. But I have no question that growth that we've seen from guys, the level of talent that we have, will continue to prove itself, and that this team next year will be incredibly talented and they'll really be able to make a mark on the national stage.
Garrett, as this for you right now, what do you do in the meantime just to keep yourself in shape to, try and just continue to improve as much as you can as a baseball player?
Yeah, for me, it's continuing throwing, continuing lifting. Thankfully, I have a good facility in my house and in areas around me that I can go train at. I have plenty of teammates from Illinois that live close by if I ever need to throw. I've already been seeing those guys to throw and get all that extra work in. For me, it's just an opportunity to take this as another offseason, continue to make changes physically, get in better shape, get bigger, stronger, faster. And then on a pitching side, continue to work on the things I was working on with Coach Allen in terms of how I approach the game mentality-wise, approach my bullpens, and really trying to focus on, attacking the strike zone. That's something that I can do even if there's not a hitter in this box. I can get on the mound and throw my bullpens and make sure that, that's my central focus is not just improving my pure stuff, but improving how I attack the strike zone, my pitch location, kind of how I manipulate the baseball. Those are things that I can continue to work on even though there's, not a hitter in the box or a competition coming up.
Anybody else got anything for Garrett? All right, Garrett, you good to go?
Thanks,
all right, thank you all.
Thanks, Garrett.
Ty Weber, are you in here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you good. So, Ty,
Alrighty.
Same deal here. If you could start off with how you've dealt with this, what you've been going through over the past few days, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, so this whole experience has been a very roller coaster of a ride, to say the least. On Thursday, when we found out that our season was canceled, I was sitting in my apartment with my roommates, and we just all were looking at each other in awe, just really thinking like, man, could this really happen? And after that, we just took a couple days. We were talking to a lot of things, and I came home on Saturday, and since then I've just been hanging out, really weighing my options, and I give a lot of credit to our coaching staff and how Coach Hartlett has handled this with allowing myself and Garrett and other older guys to have some time where we're not being questioned by our coaches on what we're going to do, and really just let it settle in. And that's really all that I've been doing, and I've been having a mindset of continuously working and getting my work in to prepare for what is to come. And so far, we really don't know what is going to come out of this, but being prepared will be the best option. So,
Hi, this is Gavin Good from Illini Inquirer. What sort of things run through your mind after your senior season ends like this? Because I know, you have another year of eligibility, but it's so early to try and make those decisions.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest and say that the season ending hasn't fully really hit me yet. I'm still in a weird period where we're getting texts every other day saying our agendas for the day on what time we're going to have BP and all that stuff, and it's just, for me, it was crazy. It was something that I never would have thought of happened, and obviously it's not the way anybody would want their season to end, but it makes it easier on my mind knowing that there's thousands of other athletes, Division 1, 2, 3, junior college, that are going through this exact same thing. So,
Hi, what has it been like just going through this, with your teammates? And I know you're not with them now, you're at home, so what is it like dealing with this from afar?
It's interesting. obviously, just by the way we're conducting this interview, it's over the phone. Everything is either FaceTime or text or calling. And I know a group of myself and other of my friends from the team, we're going to try to get it together as much as possible, whether that's going back to campus and getting workouts in later on when maybe some of these restrictions are taken off, or but it's just been a very weird experience where now I'm back home and I have my friends from back home and I have obviously all my teammates, and it's weird being home in the middle of March. It's something I really wouldn't have thought of happening this past couple of years. So.
I know you guys have the option to be at home and be with your family or stay on here and kind of, use the facilities to varying extents. What is it like, kind of making the decision of where to be from a training and developmental perspective? Because I don't know what your home situation is. I know some people have, pretty good setups there.
Yeah. Well, I'm blessed with, both my parents are school teachers, and my dad works at the high school, and I have access to using our high school weight room, which will be nice for me just because I can kind of go at any time and get my work in, and that's what I plan on doing. But for me, the mindset is just to continue to, almost in a way, act like we're in season, where I'm throwing pretty much every day. I'm working out still 3 days a week, and I'm staying on top of my physical side. Because up until I figure out kind of my mental state on what I want to do next year, I can still control how my body physically can improve.
Hey, Ty, Eric Fisher from Orange and Blue News here. You talked about all this just being pretty weird for you right now. Does the NCAA granting you that extra year of eligibility just kind of make this all the more weirder? I mean, I can't imagine heading into the season the idea of having that option was even crossing your mind at all.
Yeah, the Thursday that we found out that our season was done, I really didn't even think about the possibility of getting a year of eligibility back. All I was really thinking at that point was, wow, my time at Illinois could be over. And now with that option, it does make it a little easier on my mind, because the fact that I do have options allows me to really navigate different avenues and see where my life could potentially end up. And the extra year of eligibility, whether I end up using that or not, is definitely an option that I'll think about a lot and have a big impact on my life. So,
Ty, what is it just like as an athlete who's put so much into, your career and just this season, just having, 15-ish games in, just having it all taken away?
Yeah, it's more heartbreaking than anything, especially because I think our team was starting to hit a groove together, and it was such a young team and a team with 17 new players that it was a kind of atmosphere that was I had never experienced before as a player at Illinois. And I felt that with myself and Garrett and some other seniors that we were starting to get kind of a handle on how things should be done and how games should be played with this team. And it was going to be interesting to see what kind of season we had. Every single player bought in, and we were all striving to be the best players we could be. And one day when it's all just taken away, you just kind of have to sit back and you're in awe of just how crazy this the whole last week was.
Hey, Ty, this is Scott Ritchie from the News Gazette. With your options obviously still open, but looking back at your time so far at Illinois, how much does that help you grow, not only as a baseball player, but just as, an adult, just as a person?
Yeah, I think my time at Illinois, every year it's been different. My freshman year, I was quiet. I really watched my teammates and my players from a distance, and now up in year 4, I really felt that I could take a leadership role and try to help the younger kids, younger players, and and give them knowledge that maybe I could have used when I was a freshman. And I think my time at Illinois has really grown me more as a person than as a player. And I give a lot of credit to our coaching staff, our trainers, and all them, especially our players too, being able to grow 3-4 years with them and really develop into friends and teammates. It's a weird feeling looking back now and potentially saying that my time is done, and I'm just hoping that if that is the case, I'll have a positive impact on many of the younger players for years to come.
And then, just coming up, Wisconsin, how big of an opportunity was Illinois for you? I mean, I think Milwaukee might be the only Division I program, in your home state, but to maybe have this chance in Champaign.
Yeah, I'm very blessed to have this chance, and it was a wild experience getting recruited by them. I was playing a game in my spring of my sophomore year, or in the fall, one of the two, and Snyder used to be the hitting coach at Illinois. His son, I played on a team with him, and I was pitching a game, and Coach Snyder was there just watching his son, and he talked to me after the game, said that they had interest, and kind of from there it took off. And just moments like that, I'm grateful for, to be able to have the opportunity to play here. And I'm glad for my decision. If I could do it again, I would definitely come here. So.
I think Dan said that, this weekend was his first year in like 37 years in March, not having, to think about making baseball decisions. As someone who's played the game for a really long time, just how different is it now to be just, not really having baseball there in your mind and physically doing all those things?
It's difficult, especially because when you turn on the TV, there's really no sports going on, and I think this is a time where a lot of people really that love sports don't fully know what to do, but it's easier on myself knowing that I can still take steps to better myself with the game of baseball, with training, and it'll still take a couple days and maybe even a week or so to really figure out what is really going on and what the options are. But until then, I'll just keep training, and that's really all I can do.
Hi, this is Mariah with the Champagne Room. We talked a few weeks ago, and you discussed how excited you were for the future, not only for yourself, but for the rest of the guys on the team. And obviously that's hard when that future is just stripped away from you without you even being prepared for it. How have you been coping at home? Have you been talking to anybody specifically in your family about it, or just what are the things that you have been trying to do to deal with this?
It's more been, when I talk to my family, it's more reflective on my time so far and how far we've come. And I told my parents that I really didn't want to talk about what decision I will make until I had a conversation with Coach Harlow. And I haven't had that conversation yet because, like you said, he was giving us a couple weeks just to kind of figure it out on our own. And once I talk to Coach Hartwell, that's when I'll know more clearly of what I would like to do. But up until then, it's just kind of looking back on some of the good starts that I've had in the past couple of years, or the bad starts and stuff I could work on. And it's just more looking at the memories and how much fun the last couple of years have been.
And
when you think about, sorry, go ahead, Mariah.
Sure, good. You mentioned before that even in practice and in games and just throughout your season that you had so far, it was day to day, that everybody just took everything day to day. Do you think that that's more of the bigger mentality now than it ever was before?
Absolutely. And I know I can't speak for everybody, but just with myself, it's definitely a day-to-day thing. Learning it's just day-to-day knowing what the NCAA is going to do with eligibility and all of the scholarships and all of that. But I think for a team mentality, our whole team still talks every day in a group chat about where guys want to meet up and get their work in down in Illinois. And I know I live a couple hours away, so I'm not going to be joining that, but the mentality definitely hasn't changed, especially for the guys that know that they are coming back. I mean, they know that they really can't take any time off. But it's weird because no one's ever gone through this, so everyone's just kind of doing things at their own rate. But in the end, everyone still has the end goal of coming back next year, or even if they play summer baseball, coming back stronger and improving on things that they can work on.
You talked about looking back on some of the good starts and some of the bad starts and just some of the moments you've had throughout your career at Illinois. What does stick out to you? What do you remember what do you think of when you say those things?
Well, when one of the starts that I think was one of my better starts that sticks out just because it was fresh was the Texas A&M start. I just think with the atmosphere, getting the chance to pitch on a Friday night against another pitcher who will be a top prospect in the draft, that'll be a memory that I never forget. And one of the bad memories that sticks out was my sophomore year pitching in the Big Ten tournament. I was pitching against Indiana, and me and my parents always joke about it because I was throwing that game with pneumonia, and I didn't know it. And it was like 100 degrees outside, and it was just a bad experience. But there's just a lot of ups and downs that we've been looking at, and you could talk all day long on certain events that have happened with myself and with this team over the past couple of years.
Do you think that, with all this that's happened, is there a unique opportunity for reflection just on your athletic career and just what sort of things the future might hold?
Absolutely. I think with everybody, it's a unique opportunity just to really look back. And for a lot of younger players, this can kind of be a restart year, meaning they got about a year and a quarter of experience with school, or 3/4 of experience with school, and about a quarter of the season under their belt. And it's a unique experience just because we had 17 new players who had never played Division I baseball before, and I think it's a very, very valuable learning experience for them. Obviously for myself and more of the upperclassmen, it's a little different scenario, knowing that our time at Illinois is running out, and yeah, it's a unique experience to say the least.
Have you talked with anybody specifically on your team that you feel like you're going through the same things with, that you're dealing with the same kind of emotions, and like you said, your time is running out? And has there been anybody that you?
Yeah. So I lived with another senior, Ryan Schmidt, and we were talking about what the possibilities were for us. And I reached out to Garrett a couple days ago and texted him. But it's different because this year, compared to last year, we don't have 14 seniors. We only have really 3 true seniors. So talking to a larger group of older guys is an option. But yeah, I've reached out to younger and older guys and just talking about what are they doing, what their future plans are in the next couple of weeks. But it's nothing too serious, just kind of what's up, what's going on. I think more of the serious talk with that will come down the road when we figure more stuff out. But as of right now, it's just kind of like we're all at home, just trying to figure out what we're going to do. So
you mentioned how obviously the draft was something that you were really looking forward to after graduation. So whether that means this year or next year, is that still a goal? Is that still on your mind, or has everything just been kind of turned upside down for you?
No, that's definitely still a goal. But with that comes, like you said, everything is just kind of turned upside down with when is the draft going to be. Like Coach Hartleb said, is it going to be a draft that only has a certain number of rounds? That's stuff that I haven't fully grasped and thought in depth of. But like I said before, it's just a weird type day-to-day basis of just doing all I can right now, and that's working on my physical talents and letting kind of the mental stuff come a little later down the road.
What are some of the things? What are some of the things that you want to work on during this off time, specifically in your game, that you are able to while you're not at school?
Right now, I want to keep up on my off the field workouts and just playing catch every day and making sure I don't lose any ground. Because in a time like this, it definitely is easy just to say I'm going to take 2-3 weeks off and then hop right back in. But if you really look at it, the big picture, we'd be playing obviously right now, and I just think having the mentality of acting almost as if you are in season, doing sort of the same routines that you would be doing right now if we were still on campus and playing, is the mindset that our coaches gave us in our checkout meeting last Friday, and that's kind of the mentality that I have. So.
Hi, not many athletes at Illinois have really spoken about all this yet. And there's a lot of Illinois fans that are out there right now that, we're expecting to be watching you guys and following the basketball team in the NCAA tournament. Just as an athlete, but also the sports fans, just what do you have to say to people about just kind of moving forward in this time and kind of dealing with all this?
Yeah. I would just say that whatever the fans are going through, the athletes are going through it with them, and we appreciate all of the support and the love that we've been getting. And almost in a way we feel bad because we can't go out there and play. But I mean, just like I said before, everyone's really going through this at the same time, whether it's the collegiate level or the professional level or even at the high school level. It's just something that we're all just going to have to kind of wait on until all of this Corona stuff dies down. And then after that, we'll kind of all work together and get right back in the swing of things.
Good. One for Ty.
All good? Or
all right. Thank you, Ty. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll have another one tomorrow with softball.
Thanks, Brett. Thank you very much.